Many people say running your own mail server is not a good idea, but I am running my own mail server and I'm among those who say you can do it successfully if you do it right. I already made this video showing you how to set up Mailcow, and today we're going to set up Mailu, also a mail server built in Docker. We will cover the complete installation and also the DNS setup, and then we're going to compare it to Mailcow. Alright, what do we need for today's project? First, we need a Linux server. I'm using Ubuntu Server 24, long-term support. Second, we need Docker installed. If you don't know how to install it, check out my channel page. There's tons of videos where I show how to install Docker and Docker Compose. And third, we need a domain, so we can set up subdomains and DNS records. And unlike in my other videos, we don't need a reverse proxy because Mailu already comes with a web server out of the box and handles its own SSL certificates. But before we start, a quick thank you to our today's sponsor, MIVO Cloud. This video is sponsored by MIVO Cloud, a trusted provider of VPS, dedicated servers and web hosting solutions. MIVO Cloud gives you everything you need to run your projects reliably and securely. MIVO Cloud provides a global infrastructure with data centers in Europe, the US and other strategic locations for low latency and compliance. You can choose between ultra-fast NVMEs, SSDs for balanced performance, or HDD for massive storage at an affordable price. You can choose between CentOS, Debian, Fedora, Ubuntu or even Windows Server. They also offer web hosting solutions with Plesk, cPanel or WordPress for easy website management. With DDoS protection included and even 24/7 support, your services are online and secure. They have affordable pricing with a VPS starting with just a few euros or dollars per month, making it perfect for beginners and pros alike. They also offer free consultations, so if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to them. If you're ready to take control of your hosting, then check out the link in the description and explore MIVO Cloud today. They were even so kind to provide a promo code for 30% off for the first 3 months. All the information is in the description and also in the comments. But let's start with our Mailu mail server. Let's have a look at our new server. Mail servers are all about names, even the hostname of the server itself. With the command hostnamectl set hostname and then the name you want your Linux server to have, you can rename your server. I'm choosing mailu.thesysadminhub.net. I registered a brand new domain for us for this. After you just need to reboot your server, and then with the command hostname you can check if it worked. And while we're at it, let's check if we have the latest Docker Compose version. With Docker Compose version, it looks absolutely fine. If you don't have that, either you need to install it, check out my channel page for that, or you need to run apt update and apt upgrade. Now we can start installing and configuring Mailu, and the setup is really easy. Mailu lets you configure everything in a browser menu and then lets you download all the files you need right onto your server. So in your browser we go to setup.mailu.io and then we just need to fill out this stuff here. Let's go through this setting for setting. Step 1 is the Mailu storage path. This is just the path on your server that you want every file to have here. By default is /mailu. And then you choose your main mail domain. I enter the sysadminhub.net because I want the emails to be like email@thesysadminhub.net. But don't worry, later on you can set up more domains if you like to and if you have some more. Then you have the name for your admin account, just choose admin by default, and then also choose how you want to handle your SSL certificates. I choose Let's Encrypt because I always do it like this. Then here you can have some settings for outgoing message rate limit per user and stuff like that, but you can set it up later too as well. And then of course you can decide a name to be displayed on the mail server itself, and you can also link your website in there. And then on step 2, you're going to pick your features. For example, the web email client, I chose Roundcube here. And then you can tick on and off the stuff you want in here. I enabled everything, the antivirus, the WebDAV service, the fetch mail, the OLED tools, and even the ticker. And the last step is to expose Mailu to the world. So here you need to enter the IPv4 address of your mail server, and also you need to set up a subdomain and the DNS record for your mail server I chose mailu.sysadminhub.net. But before we download the configuration, let's head to Cloudflare to set up the DNS record. So we're here on the domain that we want for our mail server, and then we need a type A record for Mailu and then the IP address. I don't want that proxied, and then it says here the subdomain mailu.sysadminhub.net will point to this IPv4 address, which is our mail server. And with that done, now we can go back to setup.mailu.io page and then click on Setup Mailu. Here it's going to tell us that our configuration was generated, and the first step is to download the files. So we just need to make a new directory with this command and then change into it and then run those two commands to download the stuff. And then we can just review our configuration and then start the container by docker compose -p mailu up-d. And here at the very bottom, we have one docker compose command which will create a password for our admin, and the admin will be admin@sysadminhub.net. And then here you can define what password you want. But let's do it step by step. So the first step was to create a new directory in our mail server. So let's head back to the terminal. The command is really simple. It's just make directory /mailu and then let's change into /mailu. Just like that. And the next command is to download the docker compose.yaml file that we just created in the web interface. That went pretty smooth. And after that, we just need to download the mailu.env file. And now if we check it, we have a mailu.env and a docker compose.yaml file. And those files are already ready to go, just like that, with all the settings that we did early on in the browser. But still, let's have a look at them. So let's open up mailu.env, and in here we have like a secret key, we have the subnet, we have the main mail domain, we have the host name for the server, and we have the admin, we have let's encrypt. So basically everything that we defined in the web user interface. And if we check out the docker compose.yaml file, in here we have like a Redis, we have those core services, there is like an admin, there is a container for IMAP, for SMTP, for a lot of stuff in here. Anti-spam, antivirus, WebDuff, fetch mail, webmail, everything. It's already all built for us, ready to go. And the command they gave us to run everything, to start up all those Docker containers, is docker compose-p mailu. This will assign a project name, up-d for detached mode. And now it's going to pull all those images and start up all those containers. With the command docker ps, you can check if all the containers are up and running or if maybe one of those containers is failing. But with Mailu, it should all work fine. If you enjoy my content, leave a like and consider subscribing. It really helps out small channels like mine grow. And if you'd like to support the work I do and unlock some extra perks, check out my Patreon. Your support helps me keep creating more videos like this. Thank you for being awesome. And the last command in the command line is this docker exec command to create the admin user and assign it a secure password. Obviously, you need to choose a really secure password, not like me. So now we can access our mail server by entering the subdomain mailu.sysadminhub.net. And there it is. And the login credentials, for me at least, are admin@sysadminhub.net and the password you just assigned in the last command. So let's sign in with admin. And now we are here in the admin panel. So in here I'm greeted with this red warning here because my password is not secure. I hope you don't got this. If you do, you can update your password in here. You have settings in here. You also have a documentation for a client setup, and you can add more admins and of course more domains. Let's check out those settings one by one. The client setup page is really nice because it really shows you how you can set up your email account on Thunderbird, on Outlook, on your phone or anywhere else. You have your mail protocol, IMAP and SMTP with the correct port, and then also the server name to it. And then obviously the username is going to be the name of your mailbox and your password. Here on administrators, you can add more admins if you need to. And the most important setting, I think, is mail domains, because here you can see all the domains that are configured on your mail server. You can, on the top right here, add a new domain, and then you can have like the sysadmin sysadminhub.de, for example. If you want to, you can add a comment. Let's do this as a test and then save this. And now you have a second domain in here. You have like the mailbox count, the alias count, the quota. You even have the comment here. But let me delete this second domain here just to keep it simple, because with those little icons here, you can add new users, you can add aliases, you can manage the managers. But let's set up a new user first. In here we have our first user, it's the admin user, and then on the top right we can add a new user, and then you can fill out all those stuff here. So all you need to do is give it a name, in my case john.doe, and then it will have @sysadminhub.net. You need to choose a password, then also confirm the password. The display name is just the name. It should show there when someone receives an email from him. And then you can also add a comment in here so you never forget who that is. And when we save this, now we have a second user here, and with that also a second email. So with that, you can create more and more mailboxes, as many as you need for your domain. But you can have as many mailboxes as you like. It doesn't matter if your DNS settings are not on point. So let's have a look at those. So here on the domain list, we can check the details, and there you have all those DNS settings that you need. You have the MX entry, you have the SPF, you have the TLSA entries, and you have the DNS client auto configuration entries. What we also need is the DKIM setting. We can do that by generate keys. It will ask us to confirm if we really want to do that. In our case, yes. So let's confirm this. So what it added here is the DKIM entry and the DMARC entry. We need to take care of all of them one by one. That means we're going back to Cloudflare, to the DNS panel there, and set up all the records needed. But basically you can use any DNS provider you choose. I'm just choosing Cloudflare because it's the most popular and most people have it. And it's all free. In here we just need to add a record. The first one is an MX record. This means that the subdomain mailu.sysadminhub.net handles all the mail for the domain sysadminhub.net. And remember, we already have an A record for mailu.sysadminhub.net pointing to the IP address of our mail server. And we just give it the priority number 10. And the priority just means that if someone sends an email to the sysadminhub.net, it will check the mail server with the lowest priority. If that one is not available, it will choose the one with the next priority. So you have one with level 10 and another one with 20. So it will always try to deliver the email to 10 first and then to 20. The next record is an SPF entry. So this one should be a TXT with this value here. And in Cloudflare, it looks like this. TXT is a text record for the whole domain, the sysadminhub.net in my case. And then here the content, you have the content that is given you by Mailu. We can save this as well. The SPF record helps define which mail servers may send mail for your domain. So it prevents spoofing and helps with deliverability. The next DNS record is the DKIM entry, which is also a text entry with this one here. And the content is this one there. And in Cloudflare, it looks like this. So you have the DKIM._domain key.sysadminhub.net. In here, you just enter this. The domain will be added by itself, and then you have the content here. Let's save this as well. DKIM stands for Domain Keys Identified Mail, and it provides a public key to verify that the emails have been signed by your domain. So it's another important record for email deliverability. And the next record is the DMARC record, that stands for Domain-Based Message Authentication, Reporting and Conformance. So this one tells the receiving servers how to handle emails that fail SPF and DKIM checks. Why does it matter? It adds an extra layer of protection against spoofing and phishing. And Mailu even gives us two DMARC entries. The first one is this _DMARC.sysadminhub.net, which is again a TXT record with this content. I will copy this. And the second one is the sysadminhub.net.report._DMARC.thesysadminhub.net, which is also a TXT record with just this little content here. But let's do this one first. And in Cloudflare, it looks like this. And the nice thing about Cloudflare is, in my opinion, it shows you the DNS record in here. And this one should always match up with this one here. So with that and the correct content, we can save this, and then we can add another TXT record for the second DMARC record. The second DMARC record looks like this, also text record with this name here. Again, it will add the domain by itself and then this content in here. We can save this as well. So now we have some records left. Those ones are TLSA entries. I believe those are for the Let's Encrypt certificate, just like it's stated here, which is again pretty easy to set up. And then we have some client auto configuration entries, which are so that if ever you set up your mail account on your phone, for example, it will already auto discover and auto config the mail server settings here with those settings. All right, the TLSA records look like this. Just again, the name on the usage is 211. This is the same as this here. And then we have the content from here that you're going to paste in here. In here it says certificate in hexadecimal. And then the SRE record, those are just service records, for example, for auto discover with the priority of 10 and the weight of 1 and the port 443 in this case with the target mailu.thesysadminhub.net, and this is the corresponding record for Mailu for that. You can do the same for submissions. For IMAPs, you have the ports always in here. It's always going to be your subdomain that you chose for your mail server, and the only two other records are CNAMEs, which is autoconfig and autodiscover, but I will show you how to set them up too. So a CNAME is a canonical name, and this one is really easy to set up. You just use the, for example, autoconfig. It will append the domain by itself, and then the target is just our subdomain for our mail server. When you run a mail server, those DNS settings are key. You really need to make sure this is correct, SPF is correct, DKIM is correct, DMARC, and also this TLSA. Those client auto configuration entries, they're not that important. They're just if ever you need to have like a mail client like Thunderbird and stuff like that, then those come into play, but you could also survive without those. But one big DNS record is missing here, the PTR record or reverse DNS record. The PTR record or reverse DNS record is really important. It maps your IP address from your server back to a host name. So unlike normal DNS records, which will map a name to an IP address, the reverse DNS will do the reverse. It will map the IP address to a name. And this is especially important because many mail providers check the reverse DNS to prevent spam. If the IP doesn't match your mail server's host name, then the emails will be rejected. But here in Cloudflare, you will not find any reverse DNS or PTR entry in here because you can't set that up with your domain provider because it's doing the reverse. You need to set it up with your IP provider. So that provider that provides you your server also provides your IP address. And in my case, that's MIVO Cloud. So thank you again for MIVO Cloud for providing this server for this video. And in here, you will find something like reverse DNS. Sometimes it's called PTR or however. If ever you can't find it, then reach out to the support of your server provider. But for MIVO Cloud, it's really easy to set up. So in here, there's really nothing much you can do. It's just your IP address, your public IP address, and then you just set the name for that. It is the same name you have for your A record. So you have an A record with mailu.your domain. It will map to your IP address. So your IP address should be mapped to this A record. Easy as that. And with all those DNS records, and also most importantly, maybe the most important, the PTR record, we are all set and ready to send and receive emails. So let's try it out. All right, so let's try out our test user john.doe at the sysadminhub.net, and then let's sign in webmail. And now it's prompting us to change our password because I forgot to disable change password upon first login. It logged us in here in the user settings, but that doesn't matter. We can just go here to webmail and then it will lead us straight to Roundcube. I forgot to mention, if you add a new mailbox, you need to restart the Docker Compose containers because that's just how it is. In Mailcow, it does this automatically, but let's just run the command docker compose restart. I restarted the containers and refreshed the page, and now we are in here in Roundcube. So here we have our normal stuff. We have inbox, we have drafts, we have sent mail, we have chunk, we have trash. We can do a new email, we can have contacts and settings, and we have light mode and the dark mode. So everything you know and love about normal webmail. Okay, let's see if we can receive an email. So in here, I'm going to send from the sysadminhub.com. So it's a different domain from my Mailcow mail server to johndoe at the sysadminhub.net. We're going to have the subject and just a body, a text. So now let's send this. And the email has arrived. But if ever the email didn't go through, then there's some things you can check. You need to check if your firewall settings are okay, either the UFW firewall on your Linux server itself, or maybe your hosting provider has some form of firewall that you can set up. And the ports you need are port 25, 587, 465, 143, 993. Those are all for IMAP, POP3, SMTP and stuff like that. Just research mail server ports and there you will find all those ports needed. But I will also include them in the file for download in the description down below. So now let's check out the mail in Roundcube. It is in here and there it says it's from the sysadmin hub. This is my mail account and then with the body here, and then let's reply back to it and see if it arrives back. So let's just type in here reply, and maybe let's add this is a mail from Mailu mail server. Now let's send this. And replying to the test mail is a really important testing phase, because if you can't reply to the mail, if it won't reach the original sender, then it means one thing. The ports for sending emails are blocked by your server provider. So those are ports 25 and 587, I believe, in most cases. And what you need to do is you need to reach out to the support of your server provider and ask them to unblock those ports for outgoing traffic. On most server providers, those ports are closed by default, and you need to request that. This is just a security measure to prevent spam and for the hosting provider to stay serious on the market. And now that we have set up Mailu and configured it, now it is time to compare those two to one another. And to compare those two, we're going to have a look at those 5 categories. Number 1 is how the setup process is. Number 2, the administration and the features. Number 3, the DNS support. Number 4 is webmail. And the last one is update and backup. Mailu uses this web interface where you can set up everything and then you can just download the configuration files, the Docker Compose file and the .env file. And in Mailcow, you have this generate config.sh script where you're going to get asked a couple of stuff. You need to type those stuff in and then it will generate the Docker Compose.yaml file as well. Both are really easy to set up. Both run in Docker and Docker Compose. But in my opinion, the setup in Mailu is a bit easier. So points to Mailu for the setup category. The second category is administration and features. In Mailu, here on the left side, you have a lot of stuff that you can configure. You can add more domains and stuff like that. You can set up quotas and rate limits. And of course, you have anti-spam with rspamd. But you have rspamd and Mailcow too, and of course you can set up mail quotas and limits and stuff like that. On top of that, you also have fail to ban and a lot of other things. You have BCC mappings, you have rerouting, and all those cool stuff in Mailcow. So overall, Mailcow just has more features, so points go to Mailcow. In terms of DNS support, you have really good DNS support here in Mailu, but in Mailcow you have that as well. And the nice thing in Mailcow is you have this column with current state here, so it gives you a green tick if the DNS record is correct. So here again, points go to Mailcow for the DNS support. With webmail, Mailu uses Roundcube and Mailcow uses Sogo. In my opinion, I like Sogo more, but that's just my personal preference. So this one is a tie, so no points for no one, just to keep it fair. And the last one is backup and updates. So in Mailcow, you have this update.sh file, which is really easy to make updates. And then you have also this helper scripts. And in here, let me just clear this. And in here, you have backup and restore also as a script, which make backups and restoring backups really easy. Unfortunately, here on the Mailu mail server, there aren't any helper scripts, there aren't no scripts for updating, and there is no script for any backup. As a matter of fact, to update a Mailu server, you need to run the good old docker compose pull, docker compose down, and docker compose up-d commands again. So it's rather manually. And the same goes for backing up. You need to make a backup of those Docker volumes. So this one again goes to Mailcow, but I want to add, it would be nice if maybe Mailcow can add something in the admin user interface to run a backup and maybe the update as well, so you don't need to log into the command line. But what do you prefer? Mailcow or Mailu? Let me know in the comments. Would you given the same points like I did, or would you have rated and compared them differently? And this is your Mailu mail server up and running. We've covered the full setup, configured DNS for proper email delivery, and we even tested it. And always remember, if your DNS records are not perfect, then your emails won't get delivered or they will have a hard time and mostly end up in spam. If you find this video helpful, then leave a thumbs up. Consider subscribing so you won't miss out on more future mail server videos and self-hosted content. A big thank you again to MIVO Cloud for sponsoring this video and for providing this server. Don't forget to check them out. Link is in the description and in the comments together with a discount code. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.